Joni, no? This is the video lecture on legal aspects in tourism and hospitality. This is the book that we'll be using. This one can be purchased rather through online. So if you would like to get a copy of this book, the author is Mario Maranan et al. No? But before I will start my first video lecture, I'd like to give you some instructions, no, that you need to follow. First, of course, is that you have taken this subject last semester. No, last semester. I think that was until May. No, is it last semester or the other semester? No, so all the video lectures that I had during the previous semester, which you viewed, perhaps you may have probably viewed, you have to view them again. No, you have to view them again. I will ask Jerry how many video lectures there are the last time that you've taken this legal aspects in hospitality and tourism industry, so that he can collect all of them. Then we will be giving you again the video lectures in chronological order. No? So aside from the video lectures that you will have now this summer, you still have to view the video lectures that we have had in the past. No? So there will be, I don't know how many video lectures there are all in all during the previous semester, but we will be giving all these video lectures by installment, and you have to view them again. Okay? But this is the catch. The catch is that all the assignments, you need not follow the previous video lectures. No? The new assignments will have to be based on the video lecture that you are having this summer. Okay? No? So you just disregard all the assignments given to you in the video lectures, the earlier video lectures that we have had in the past. All the assignments this time, this summer, will be given in the new video lectures. Okay? Clear? So what you need to follow as your assignments will be the new video lectures that I will be giving you every now and then this summer. Okay? So I repeat, what we need in this subject will be this, your book on legal aspects in tourism and hospitality, and also the Constitution, because we cannot do away with the Constitution. When we talk about the law in general, the Constitution will always be there because it's the fundamental law of the land. Okay? So by way of a background again, this is for your own benefit. When we talk of legal aspects, no? When we talk about this, legal aspects, of course, we talk about the law. No? The law. Batas. Now, what is a law? That is my first question. We have taken this up before. What is a law? No? So remember this, when we talk of the law, of course, nowadays, it is denominated by what we call the RA, no? Republic Act. And when we talk of the Republic Act, we are talking about a law, no? A certain law. Okay? So again, I have to go back to my question. What is a law? Now, you can define this in several ways. Now, the definition of a law, this law can be defined in several ways. Okay? But the most prominent I could give you, and the most simple one, will be a law is a system of rules. No? Of course, it is a system of rules. What does it do as a system of rules? That a society, of course, when we talk of a law, we always talk about a society or government. that a society or government develops and implements. No? It develops. It does not only develop or enact, but it also implements. Now, what is the purpose of the law? No, it develops and implement in order to deal with what? Ano ang tinatouch niya? To deal with, of course, to deal, okay, I will erase this now. To deal with what? Miss Joni, what do you think? To deal with what? A, of course, will be what we call peace and order. No? Peace and order. Of course, the law would also have to regulate crimes. No? Crimes. Then, agreements. No? Business agreements. Business agreements. Social relationships. And of course, the most important would be rights of people. No? So it deals with it, among others, because there are a lot more. No? So the law is intended to regulate the peace and order, and of course to tackle about crimes, business agreements, social relationships, rights, and so on and so forth, among others. No, I'm not saying that these are the only purpose of having a law. In short, if you come to analyze this, the purpose of the law is actually for the general welfare of the people. No? So the intention of having the law is for the general welfare in our society. Clear? Can I erase this now? So it's for the general welfare of our society to deal with all these things, among others. No? Peace and order, crimes, business agreements, social relationships, rights, etc. etc. Okay? So what are the characteristics of a law? Of course, when we talk of a law, what are the essential characteristics? No? The characteristics of, I'm running out of ink again. So the characteristics of a law is, give me one. It's a rule of human conduct. No? Rule of human conduct. So when we say it's the rule of human conduct, it's like a norm, no, that you need to follow. Human conduct, because our behaviors, our beliefs will have to be regulated. So the purpose of the law is always to regulate. No? You will notice later on that there are three essential powers of government. And those powers are intended to regulate, no, actions or activities. No? To regulate rights, to regulate people, to regulate things or properties. Clear? So far, so it's a norm, it's a rule of human conduct with the purpose of regulating activities, rights, peoples, things, etc., etc. So another essential characteristic of a law is that when we talk of a law, it is always just. Diba? May justisya, just and obligatory. No, when we talk of the law being just, of course it is fair, it is equitable, it is reasonable, it is always intended to regulate. No? Again, intended to regulate the activities, rights of people, places, things. No, it's just an obligatory. When we talk of obligatory, what do we mean by obligatory? Well, it must be followed or obeyed. No, when we talk of the law being obligatory, what we mean by that is because it is obligatory, it is a must to be followed or obeyed. No, it is obligatory. So you cannot be exempted from observing the law, because as we say, ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therewith. No, so meaning you cannot excuse yourself by saying that you do not know the law. No, you are obliged to know the law, because everyone has to follow the law. So aside from being just and obligatory, it is promulgated, when we say promulgated, or enacted by competent authority. No? And who is the competent authority that makes our laws? Miss Johnny, you've taken this up before. It is the legislative branch of our government. Diba? It's the legislative branch of our government. And when we talk of the legislative branch of our government, we are talking about Congress. Okay? We will talk about that later on, because we are still discussing the different characteristics of a law. Okay? The last characteristic that I will be mentioning is, of course, the final one. Aside from promulgated or enacted by competent authority, it must be observed by all, or obeyed by all. No, meaning no one is excused from its compliance. No one is excused from not knowing the law, because when we talk of the law, it has to be applied to all people or to all things that are covered within the territorial jurisdiction of the competent authority that legislated the law. Okay? Clear so far? Now, when we talk of the law, because we are tackling about, of course, we are talking about hospitality, diba? In particular, hospitality and tourism industry. No? This is what we are concerned about, correct? Because you will be dealing later on with different people or organizations that are involved in the tourism and hospitality industry. Now, let me ask you at the outset, at the start, let me ask you, is there a difference between hospitality laws compared to what we call tourism laws? No? How does this tourism laws differ from hospitality laws? Anyone? Johnny? What do you think? You've taken this up before. No? So how does this differ from that? Okay? Specifically, when we talk of tourism laws, these are laws that pertain to what? Miss Johnny? These are laws that pertain to what? The travel industry. No? It's very specific. No? And of course, when we talk of the travel industry, the one that regulates this, yung travel, will be, of course, we are talking about local, state or national laws, diba? National laws. And because it involves also travel in some other parts of the world, of course, we will also be talking about international laws, no? So these are the coverage of what we call tourism laws. Now, the ones that are enacted locally, nationally, as well as those applicable for international activities or international travel. How about when we talk of hospitality laws? What do we mean by that? Or what is the breadth or coverage of what we call hospitality laws? No? Hospitality laws. When we talk about this, no? This pertain to what? Well, it pertain to food service, diba? It pertain to travel. It pertain to lodging. So this one, when we talk of hospitality, the prominent industries will be the hotels, will be the restaurants. But in the case of the travel industry, we have what we call the tours, no? And the travel agencies. Clear? So far? Among others, etc. No? Those that are involved in the travel industry. These are the more prominent industries in the tourism industry. Okay? Clear so far? So you know now how does the tourism law or how do the tourism laws differ from what we call hospitality laws? No? So which one is broader in scope? Well, if we talk about hospitality laws as dealing with lodging, in food service, diba? In perhaps travel, so which one is broader in scope? Of course, the hospitality industry, because it encompasses all this. No? It will encompass all this, including travel. Clear? So far, Johnny? Okay, next will be when we talk of this laws, no? Of course, there are kinds or kinds of laws. Kinds of laws. What do you think are the different kinds of laws? Well, of course, the first one is according to purpose. No, according to purpose. So, as to purpose, the classifications or kinds would be, the first one is substantive laws, and the second one is what we call adjective laws, or we call this in legal parlance as remedial laws, no, or procedural, rather, procedural. Those involving procedural laws, no? No, this is according to purpose, no? When we talk of substantive laws, what do you understand by being substantive? Letter B, rather. This is letter B. So again, I repeat, according to purpose, the kinds of laws will be substantive laws and adjective or procedural laws. So we take up first what we call substantive laws, no? What do you understand when we talk of substantive laws? Or, of course, it came from the word substance, no? Substance meaning you take a look at the law itself, no? You take a look at the law itself. What does it create? What does it define? What does it regulate? As rights, no? As rights. So, yung substance ng law, you will be taking a look at the substance of the law, the ones that creates, defines, or regulates rights, what else? Activities, and of course, motives that can give rise to what we call a cause of action. No? A cause of action. So, when we talk of the substantive laws, we are referring to the substance of the law itself. No? The substantive laws, we refer to the substance of the law itself that creates, defines, regulates rights, obligations, and duties that will give rise to what we call a cause of action. Clear? Miss Johnny? No? So this is the first kind in the kind of law, according to purpose. The first is what we call substantive laws, of course coming from the word substance, no? So when we talk of the substance of the law, we take a look at the law itself, because in that law you could see the creation, the definition, the regulation of certain rights, duties, obligations, etc. that will give rise to what we call a cause of action. The cause of action is usually what we call the reason for, say for instance, if there is a conflict, you want to file a certain case, that is, what is your cause of action, no? We call that the cause of action. Of course, the second kind, according to purpose, will be, if we take a look at the substance under substantive laws, of course we go to the adjective, or what we call procedural laws, no? Procedural laws. And these kinds of laws are intended, what do we have here? In, of course, definitely here, the procedures, the means or methods or even instruments to enforce the law, no? To enforce the law, no? To enforce the law. So it's not only substance that you need, you also need the procedure as to how you are going to file the cause of action. So we are now talking about the means, methods, or instruments to enforce the law. So that is what we call adjective or procedural laws, no? So that is according to purpose. Now, according to scope, no, this is another kind of, one of the kinds of laws. Now, this time according to scope, yung coverage niya. According to scope, laws are classified, first will be public laws, and then we have private laws. When we talk of public laws, that will be applicable to all, no? Applicable to all in a certain jurisdiction, no? Regardless of who you are, no? Your station in life, your age, your gender, your creed. Remember that it is applicable to all. This one, for private laws, it is only applicable to a certain class. To a certain class or group. Now, example of this, public laws, well, of course, you have the tax code, you have the penal code, the criminal law, no? You have the corporation code, you have the civil code. Those are examples of what we call public laws. And for private laws, these are special laws that may be applicable only to, say for instance, senior citizens, to children, to teachers, or whatever group it might tackle, no? Those are private laws. Okay? Clear so far? Now, when we talk now of the laws, no? We cannot do away with the different laws that may be applicable, no? Laws, when we talk of the laws, of course, we talk about the Constitution. The Constitution is the basic or fundamental law in our country, no? Or every country for that matter. Now, those enacted by Congress, we call them statutes or legislations, no? Legislations, pieces of legislations, no? Legal legislations. Of course, we have also treaties, no? Those entered into two or more countries for the purpose of what? For the general welfare of the people in those countries, no? And of course, if we have this treaties, we have also what we call jurisprudence, which have the effect of a law. So what are jurisprudence? These are decided cases. decided cases by the court. So these are the sources, no, of laws that we call, no, Constitution, the statutes passed by Congress, treaties and jurisprudence, which we will be taking up one by one, no, in this class. Okay, so I think that is all for today. Now, there will be no assignment yet, but what I want you, of course, is to read the Philippine Constitution, the applicable provisions here relating to the hospitality and tourism industry. Okay? Thank you and good afternoon.